Hi, it's Paula from Pola Quilting. Welcome back to my channel. In the last update I showed you those quilted covers for notebooks or journals or even books or whatever you would like to put it on, and some of you expressed an interest to see how I've made them, so today's tutorial is about that. The fabric you can use for your covers is anything and everything you like. Some orphan blocks, like something like that, some strips that you make, even a plain fabric if you have something nice. I've got one here with cuts on it. That's something I'm already working on. So you can use whatever and however you mix it you like. For one of the covers of small size, I want to use this orphan block. I quite like the colors on it, but as you can see, it's not that wide, but it's quite tall. So what I will do, I will cut some strips from top and bottom just to keep that middle, and I will put them somewhere in the middle here to make it a little bit more stretched. What I will also show you is how I've added a embroidery thread on a panel made from batiks. I quite like the cover. I made big one already, and I really like how it looks, so I will show you that as well. Now for the measurements, when you have your notebook, you want to measure how tall it is, and whatever that measurement is, I am adding a 3/4 of an inch. If you're sewing with the 1/4 inch, the top and bottom later, you would think the 1/2 inch would be enough, but sometimes 1/4 inch is not 1/4 inch, and also you would like to have a little bit of movement there to make sure you can easily put your book inside. And for the second measurement, you go around your book, journal, whatever you want to put the cover on, and again, whatever that measurement is, plus 3/4 of an inch. Now if you're preparing your panel from the quilted fabric, obviously you want to cut it at least before you quilt it an inch bigger, so an inch bigger piece of a combined blocks, piece of fabric, then obviously batting and backing. So once you quilt it, we know the fabric likes to shift when you quilting it, so you can then obviously cut it to your dimension. The other thing we will need is some pieces for the flaps, and that will be again whatever that measurement plus that 3/4 by 8 inches. So I've got that one here for my bigger notebook, so that's 8 inches here, the height of my larger notebook plus 3/4, and what we'll be doing is basically you fold it into half and iron in the middle. So that's how you need to prepare your flaps. Also we will need some binding. It will be single binding, so I cut my strips to 1.5 inch. The binding, you can either make it so it's contrasting or blend in with the rest of the book cover, so it's up to you how you want to go about it. And I will be stitching those shorter pieces to have it long enough to obviously go around all of that book cover, and how you want to measure your dimensions. So whatever height plus 1/4 you had times 2, and whatever you all around you had plus 1/4 plus times 2, and obviously you want to add at least couple of inches extra for us to be able to link it. If you add 4 or 5 inches, you will be on the safe side. But how you add the binding, I will show you when we get to the machine. So like I've mentioned, I will first sort out this panel. So I will cut strip at the top, strip at the bottom, cut somewhere in the middle, and add those strips to make it into wider panel, and I will quilt it, and then I will show you the next step. Okay, so this is my panel. I've like I said, added those strips here. I've quilted it already, and I cut it to my size. This is the back side of it, and looks very nice. I just use simple quilting here, just with the wavy lines both directions, but it's a great opportunity here to practice some free motion quilting, because it's a small piece, so you can play with it, and that will work very nicely too. And also this is good scrap buster for your batting scraps, because obviously you can Frankenbat them before you use it, before you layer your pieces, and that's what I did. I take some of my pieces and do them big enough to be able to quilt like that. If you don't know how to link your batting, I will put in the description below link to the tutorial I've made around it. So now I've got my pieces of the side. So again 8 inches by the height plus 3/4 of whatever the measurement you need. And what I want to do is place them here on the side. The raw edge is going to the side of the cover, and the nice edge is going to the inside, because that's when we're going to put our notebook in. And you can use either pins, or you can use some clips to hold it in place. Now, for those who are not yet very confident with sewing, what you may like to do is go to your machine and just tag it around here, very close to the edge. So when we get to putting the binding on, this is not going to move for you anymore. For those more confident, you can do a binding and those flaps at the same time. So this is another piece, 8 inches times whatever height you want of your panel. And again, I'll just lay it in here, and just for now it just holds with the clips. So now I need to make a little bit longer piece of my binding. This is not going to be enough, so I will add enough of those strips together. I am stitching them with just simple straight stitch, but I do narrow down the stitch length, so it's keeping it very well. If I use it 2.5, which is that normal length, it may kind of pull when you're sewing it here, may come off on the edges. If you narrow down the stitch length, it will be fine. So let me prepare that, and I will take you to the machine to walk through the process of adding the binding. Okay, I've got my binding, I've got my panel, everything is here clipped on, and I want to start where the bottom of my book cover is going to be. You have to remember that anything you want to have at the front needs to be on the right side of the panel. So if this is going to be my front, I want to start at the bottom here. I've got my 1/4 inch foot on my machine, and I'm starting kind of very close to that flap here, and I'm leaving this knot stitch because I will be trying to link those strips at the end together. And as you would do with normal quilted item, I'm just going to stitch it the same way, and I will do the corner exactly the same way like I would do on the quilt. So coming to the corner, I want to stop 1/4 inch from this edge at the bottom. If you think you can overshoot, you can draw a line or just go very slowly. I think I need one more stitch. I'm pulling my needle up. I will turn around the whole piece, and I will go up to create that 45-degree angle here with my bias tape, and then I go down. This is exactly the same way as we're doing quilting corners with the double folded strip for the binding. I'm just using single strip here instead. And then again, I will just sew. Every time I come to the beginning and the end of the strip where the binding was linked, I will just finger press that seam allowance open. Now I'm coming back here to the bottom side of the cover, so just one last corner here. From here I stop obviously 1/4 inch in when I'm coming this side. Here I'm starting from the very top, and then I'm gonna have to stop here when I finish sewing on the flap, because we want to link those strips together. So it's about where that flap finishes. I'm gonna finish here as well. I'm just gonna trim that a little bit for now. Anyhow, just, you know, there's a big overlap here because I've started stitching here where the flap starts, and I finish stitching when the other flap starts, so it's a good overlap. So somewhere in between those overlaps, when I've got this gap here, I want to cut this one. So I'm just going to fold it on itself to make the crease, and I'm just gonna cut in here. and then I will put the other side on top of it, and you can measure it if you like. You can draw a line where that top one bit is here and then cut it half an inch below it. That's where you want to be, or you can eyeball it. It's up to you how confident you feel. I normally do eyeball it but you can definitely draw a line and cut half an inch below, because we're gonna stitch it now together with the 1/4 inch allowance. So that's half an inch of the fabric is going to be taken by it. You may like to use or either pin or clip just to hold it together like this, so it doesn't unopen. Again, I've got a good tutorial about the binding, how to sew it, how to prepare it, and how to do all of those corners and linkages, and I will link it in the description below. If it's something not clear here how I've done it, just refer to that other tutorial, and I'm sure you will have a full picture. The only difference is that I'm using single 1.5 inch strip here, and in other tutorials I was showing it on the folded fabric, but the whole procedure is exactly the same. And here again, don't forget to narrow down the stitch length to about 1.5. just to make sure they will not open on the edges. And when you open it up now, just see if it sits nice and tight. If it doesn't, just go in and do that stitch again. You want to have it nice and tight so there is no kind of something you need to work in later. So now I can go back and finish off that edge here. I'm just going to again finger press this seam open. And I'm done, and now it's time to move it to the front. Like with any quilted item you make, or especially the quilts, if you wanted finished binding by hand, you probably will be better off to stitch it on the front and then turn it to the back and finish by hand. I want to finish by machine, hence I've stitched it to the back, and I'll be finishing off at the front by machine. So I can take it and I can turn it all around. And you may like to take it also to the ironing board and iron it first. So what I would normally do, I will take it to the iron flat first as is, and then I will go gone back, fold this into half, just so this edge here is meeting the edge of my quilted panel, then come off on top of it and iron again. And that way, when you come into the machine, it's very easy to stitch it. And you want to stitch it because that flap will just barely cover the stitch you have under. And remember, we have left ourselves 3/4 of the wiggling room. That means we can stitch on the very edge of here and we still have enough space to put our book in. We don't have to stick to that 1/4 inch line here. So that will work very well. So I will take it to the iron now, and like I said, prepare it first because it's just easier when you're taking it to the machine. Now that I've ironed it, I can use some clips to hold it in place, but I'm not using clips at the corners, just on that straight edges, because corners I will kind of work them through as I will going to come to them. So I just want to make sure that part is nicely held. You can use obviously clips or pins, whatever you've got, and now I can start stitching. And again, I will start stitching from the bottom so it's all in the one place. So for this part you don't necessarily need a 1/4 inch foot. You would probably be better off having normal foot on, but I will just use this one since I've got it here already. So like I said, you want to target to stitch on the edge of your binding. Just put the needle down, and I'll be stitching slowly and removing my clips as I go. Okay, I'm getting close to my corner, So what I want to do is make sure that I've got the nice 45-degree angle here, though it's not necessary actually. If you go flat with this one, as far as you do all the corners the same, that's okay. What might be useful is, I'm just go a little bit higher here, use a pin here to hold that side nice and flat here, and then you can kind of use that pin to bring that binding to the point you want. And if it doesn't meet, just scoot it there in the middle using that pin to hold it down, and then you can use finger or another pin to hold it in place. Okay, got the edge, and I can turn around. Like I said, if you, as far as your corners looks exactly the same, then they don't need to be on that 45-degree angle. They can be just flat down. Those tutorial I shared with you before, this one when I did bags using floss as a decoration, and I used their technique with a straw to hold the threads for me, and that's a good technique if you have quite a lot of to sew and you're using the same kind of floss you know, for all of your project. Now with this one I'm gonna be using few colors, and I'm just picking them up from my box. So the lengths are going to be much shorter, which I'm going to be working with. So you can really get away with just using your hand to guide the thread. So let me just put some more colors and I will show you how I'm going to go about it. I'm just kind of trying to color coordinate my threads with those batiks. The batiks are really nice, but I think we can make it even better. Okay, I go with those 4 colors here. Okay, I've got my colors checked up, and the first thing you want to do is obviously test your width and length of the zigzag. You want to cover the thread, but you don't want to have too much on both sides, unless you're putting 2 threads at a time as well. You can try that. The good foot for that will be something like this, where you have that groove in the middle and you can kind of feed the thread in here. So this is what it would look like. That machine is, you just putting your thread here in the middle in that groove, machine will pull it and you just go in and it will hold it in place. Walking foot will look the same way, that you've got those kind of slats of the foot and the thread can go in the middle. So try with the walking foot. And if you don't have a walking foot, for every machine you should receive an open toe foot. So that is going to be the one I will be using here. For the width and the length of the zigzag, I'm setting my machine on 2 for the width and 1.5 for the length. But like I said, your setup might be a little bit different, or you may have a machine which is manual. So you just need to test it on a little bit of scrap and see how it looks. So I'm starting from the very edge because that will be the part I'm going to be cutting off later anyway. So no problem there. You can test it a little bit there on that edge there too, if you don't have a scrap. And then I'm just going in and I'm just leading the thread, going slowly and leading the thread so it fits in between my zigzag. And also I'm kind of painting the curves here. As you can see, I'm not going very straight. I'm just trying to angle that thread a little bit. If you need to stop, readjust, reposition if you want to have a bigger angle here, or you can also use your quilting thread as a guide where you want to add those threads to. So that's another option. If you're quilting your piece first like I did, you can quilt it with that in mind, that you will be adding the floss on top of it. So you can make design first, and it's easier to just do it with a single thread with normal foot and not worry about it. Here I need to pay a little bit more attention and go slower. You can also use a marker, or you can use a obviously marker which is coming off from the fabric when you finish drawing on it, or some chalk or any other tool you've got for marking on your fabric, to draw designs first and then do that thread. So there's many options how you can go about it, but most important thing, just have fun with it. It really looks cool. Okay, so I finished adding my first thread, and then I will go through other colors, add them all in, make some designs with those threads, and then I will square up my panel and I finish it off exactly the same way as the other one. So I will do that now, and I will show you a selection of the book covers I've made, which are going to be available at my shop on the 20th of November. Also, I've updated a postage cost for USA up to 3 kilograms. I had some inquiries, so I've added it in. If you are not in USA, then obviously let me know before purchasing anything else, if you like to be advised about the postage cost, and I can add them into the website as well. So I finished my cover. This is how it looks. I think it came out pretty nice. I like how that binding is actually matched with the colors here, so it kind of blends in. But like I said at the beginning, you can put something which is contrasting as well. Also, the other thing I was thinking, that you could possibly use ready-made binding as well, and you can use the double binding like for normal quilt as well. Just you might need to check the measurements whether it will still fit, because that binding comes a little bit bigger than if you're using the single one. And this is the one with the embroidery thread. Honestly, I really love how it comes out from those batiks. Batiks are quite busy fabrics, and some people might feel it's a little bit too busy, but I actually think it really added a extra oomph to it. So I really love that one. So that's the small version, and this is the bigger version, the big A3 notebook here with the embroidery thread as well. So that's that. Couple of more small ones. So this is a totally scrappy one, proper patchwork, and same with this one, made from crumbs. So these crumbs were from my yellow, brown, orange bucket stitched together, and this one was just colorful, all colors mixed together. And one more big orange one, and I also will have the big kind of a scrappy one, colorful. I haven't finished the binding yet. This is ready to be binding on. And also I've got this lovely fabric with cuts that will be the big journal. So again, I'm missing the binding here. I've got black fabric to go around it, and it will be ready as well. So all of the journals will be in my shop with the release of 20th of November. And if you like to grab one, then please subscribe now to the website, because then you will receive a coupon for a discount with the invite for the release. If you're living abroad, again, give me a shout. The cost which is there at the moment, the part of USA up to 3 kilograms, is not correct. I just didn't have a time to set up for every country in the world. But if you're interested, please give me a shout, you know, via email, and I will check the postage for you and update it on the system as well. I also prepared the shawl, which is scraps of the fabrics, mainly men's shirts, with the red fleece. It's nice and warm. It's quite long as well. This is going to be part of the release as well. So if you fancy one quilted shawl or scarf, however you want to call it, please make sure you subscribe to be notified when it's ready. Again, that will be a November release. Thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. You can use that kind of format of the covers for everything, really. If you have your favorite, say, you know, set of books, how cool they would look if they are kind of cover like this. Or you maybe have a Bible you would like to put a cover on, or any book you're going back very often. And obviously these ones are with a just notebooks inside, so you can use it for work, for school, you know, for your own thoughts, wherever you wish. You know, you can use those to write it down. Any questions, please drop them in the comments below. Just a reminder, you can find me on Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, and now on my own website. I'll be grateful if you subscribe or follow me on all of those media to build my audience. Thank you for joining, thank you for watching, and see you next time.